I'm with the Lawrence Group, and I'm also president of the chapter of ASPE here in
Hang on,
St. Louis.
now start.
Oh, thanks. Good morning, everybody. This is John Smith. I'm with Lawrence Group Projects in St. Louis, and I'm also the president of ASPE locally. I'd like to bring you up to speed on a few items, housekeeping items besides the event today. We have scholarships that are out, and we're due to get those back April 1st. Last year, with our trivia night that we held last year in 2020, we actually did 2019, actually. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2020, we had to cancel it. But the scholarship, we gave out 5 of them last year, 1 winner and 4 runner-ups. And hopefully this year we will have a good, strong candidate list to give out some more, even though we did not hold our trivia night. So board elections, the ballots are due to go out today, and we'll have those coming back on April 7th. So anybody that's a member of Chapter 19 needs to vote for whoever they like, and there's plenty of write-in candidates if you want to write in somebody. There's 3 positions. There's a president, first vice president, second vice president, third vice president. Each president, first and second, still have people in those. We have a new position, third vice president. 6 directors, including a treasurer and a secretary. And then there's 4 actual directors. So there's a total of 6 people that are director level. The planning sessions for next year will be June 11th. We don't have a time yet because we'll talk with the new board to find out what's best suits them for that date. And then August 13th will be the next planning session for the following year. We start our following year session on September 10th board meeting, and then the 17th would be our first meeting for next year. We'll publish that on our website. Today's March 19th. Today's topic is from AGC. It's State of St. Louis Construction. The guest speaker is Len Toenjes. Next month, we're going to have minority participation, and then Ron Underreiner, who represents Peoples, will be our guest speaker. And then May 21st will be safety and estimating, our scholarship awardees, and our new board inductions. So those are the comments that we'll have for this year. And then other than that, we hope to have a good year again. And one of our members currently, Everett Meyer, who's an electrical estimator at McCarthy, taught a 2-hour class for Rankin earlier this month, which is a great thing for our outside involvement in the industry. A lot of schools don't really have some good estimators. So I'd appreciate anybody that is an estimator can reach out to colleges in our region. And what that does, if you're a member of our chapter and you do get a letter from them, it does help towards our chapter achievement award. So keep that in mind. Last year we were silver awardee. It's going to be tough this year to get any higher because we were so limited. But I think this following year, I think we can really grow the chapter and get out and do a lot of things we couldn't do this last year with COVID. So, and with that, I'd like to introduce Len Toenjes with AGC. He's going to speak about the economic forecast of the region. I'm sure he could speak about the entire country because of AGC's involvement across the country. So with further ado, Len, you can take over the mic.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present this morning. I am going to cover national, state, and local. It does say State of St. Louis on the title, but quite frankly, I would imagine that anybody on this call who only works in St. Louis is few and far between. People are working regionally, people are working nationally. So I will sort of blow through some of the national stuff, but certainly the state and local stuff impacts us pretty much. So this is sort of the direction that I'll go. Nationally, I'll talk about what some of the projects are in the market segments that are strong and where we are on the people side of things. We all look at Dodge and Dodge Momentum Index. And I'm really going to talk about commercial since AGC is commercial. I think we all know residential is going crazy. The only real inhibitor there, I think, is lumber prices. but residential has been going crazy for the last year and continues to go in that direction. Dodge really looked at a pretty significant increase in commercial work for 2021, institutional a little bit. 68% right after the election said that their business outlook was somewhat or very positive for 2021. There was a downturn, needless to say, in 2020, but you can see the rebound in 2021 is up, but it's not back up to what it was in 19. AIA, we are all familiar, I think, with the Architectural Billing Index and what's going on there. You can read for yourself that last October it was going the wrong way. I just got a new AIA report for January. The billing index went, and 50 is status quo. 0 is terrible, 100 is perfect. It went from 42.3 up to 44.9. So the ABI billings index went up. The design contracts went up from 47 to 48.8. So both of those two indicators went up about 1.5 points, but they are still below 50. So the ABI is climbing a little bit, but I think similar to what you see at the top half of this slide, it's not back to what it was in 19, but it's on the way up. This was sort of an overall index movement. I think this was from FMI, that you can see sort of what the indicators were from the fourth quarter of last year to the first quarter of this year. Obviously, materials, we all know that, labor going up, but you can see some of the other issues like productivity because of pandemic illnesses, backlogs going down. Talk about that a little bit more later. But this sort of gives you a picture on the national level. We all look at rental equipment. The rental guys is not real happy, but they're looking at a long, slow climb. It's sort of like what we were seeing in some of the earlier slides. A big drop in 2020, and then a slow growth back up when you're looking at growth in this rental equipment market. Slow rebound there. I think what we're seeing nationally, there's a lot of talk about infrastructure and an infrastructure package coming out of DC. I think what we think of, or what we've thought about since 1956 when they started the interstate highway system, what we think of as infrastructure, and maybe what Joe Biden and AOC and Nancy Pelosi think of as infrastructure might be two different things. We're talking about a lot of different things like flood control mitigation projects, which basically means wetlands, renewable energy projects, broadband. You can see some of the other things in there. Certainly there are components in there for roads and bridges, aviation, Corps of Engineers, those sort of things. However, I think you're going to see probably, even though it looks like a lot of money, there is going to be a lot of that money that gets used for these other projects. So I think we anticipate that the money that's actually going into concrete and asphalt and steel is going to be pretty consistent with what we've seen in the past. At the national level, I don't think MoDOT or the Corps or any of these people are looking for any big windfall because there is going to be these other areas of the economy that are going to benefit from infrastructure. Electric utilities, gas plants, you can see what's looking there, wind farms, some liquid natural gas export facilities coming online nationally. So I think, Ameren, I think, is in the process of shutting down their last coal-fired generator. So they are just about totally out of the coal business, and it seems like they've been spending a lot more of their dollars on transmission towers and moving in that direction much more than in generation of electric power. This sort of gives you an idea from left to right, and on the left, the red means bad, green means good. So you can see that in these different market segments, sort of what the sense is of the general marketplace nationally. You can see that obviously lodging, not so good, healthcare, good, manufacturing, good, transportation and public works, pretty good, office, not that strong, obviously. We're all sitting, I see a few kitchens and bedrooms on the screens of people. So it's no big surprise that lodging and office and commercial are the red areas here on this slide. But this sort of gives you a picture of which segments of the market people are looking at as far as where the strengths and weaknesses are across the country. This sort of puts some numbers to that prior chart. Again, you can see bridge and highway down 17%. Where you see higher is in multifamily residential, manufacturing, warehouse, healthcare, water, sewer, hospital, power. No surprises there where you see the higher things. Like I said, residential is not on here, but certainly those of us that are in the residential market. I was talking to someone the other day that was actually looking to buy a new home in Florida and went to the developer, and the developer told him, come back in December and we can talk. So they're just that far behind on the residential side. What are concerns for contractors? This was a survey that AGC of America did. And this is basically what contractor concerns are. The impact of the pandemic on the supply chain. I think those of you who are in the estimating world certainly see this. Increased competition, material costs. Material costs right now are probably the biggest concern that I'm hearing from my members. I think those of you that are in the estimating side of things are probably seeing projects that got put on hold. Then the material prices went crazy. And now when you get the notice to proceed, you might be getting your pencil and your calculator and your spreadsheet back out and repricing these projects before you move forward with them because of either delays in getting material. I heard a 6 to 8 week lead time on steel now. 20, just great increases across the board, which is leading to some repricing. Little concern about immigration, little concern about relations, little concern about education and training, but more concern about material costs, worker shortage, infrastructure funding, those sort of things. So this gives you sort of an idea of what the biggest concerns were from contractors going forward. This is new data that I just got. You can see the date on this was March 4th. This is sort of an update of that. Material shortage moved up to the top. Interestingly enough, 25% potentially infected persons visiting job site. I just got a call from a contractor yesterday that is concerned about what sort of approach AGC is taking or the industry is taking on working to get people vaccinated, and what sort of, you can't force people to stick a needle in their arm, but what sort of incentives can we create to do that? We had a meeting with some of the big owners in town about a week ago and talked to them about whether they may be considering adding some things into their contracts about requiring vaccinated workers. I brought the question up. All I got was crickets. It was like everybody put themselves on mute all of a sudden. I don't know that anybody, none of the owners really had an answer for it, but I think it may be bubbling around a little bit in their minds. And it's probably a dialogue. I see Scott Byrne on here. It's probably a dialogue we're going to be having with some of our partners in labor to see if there are things that we can do to work together to get more folks vaccinated. And we've been successful in keeping the jobs going throughout the ladder down. Now, as we get the ladder back up, what do we do to get the ladder back up going? So you can see on this slide, this is brand new data I just got earlier this week. What sort of concerns are on disruptions and delays and equipment and materials. You can see cost changes. Again, higher is the purple. Materials, parts, supplies, 85% higher. Trucking and deliveries, 50% higher. You can see additional costs below there for PPE. No big surprise there. I mean, everybody had to bite the bullet there and make sure that the jobs were safe. And I don't think anybody saved money because of the pandemic. So reduced office expenses didn't mean a whole lot when you look at all the other expenses up above. So that's all the national stuff. You can see that there's really not much change in employment. You can see there's fewer projects to bid on. 65% projects postponed or canceled. I think this goes back to what we talked about earlier, that there is going to be pressure, I think, on the estimators to go back and take a second or third or fourth look at some of these projects as we're coming out. It's sort of what one of our contractors called his virtual backlog. That, yeah, we've got a backlog, but when we reprice it and when we do get a notice to proceed, is it really going to happen or not? So that's a concern I think that our folks have. You look at what the Midwest looks like. This gives you more of a regional look. These numbers don't vary too much from the national look. You can see what the ratings are here for 2021 concerning the same set of areas for the Midwest. You can see the impact on the projects. What do you look at for your volume of work? What do you see happening in that world? You can see that you're looking at these delays moving forward. The guys and gals that I talk to all feel like they've got a good backlog, but there is this growing concern about how much of that backlog is real because of the repricing with the materials. Again, biggest concerns for Midwest contractors, materials cost, competition. You can see the rankings there. The same areas that we saw before, but much higher much higher concern about the impact of the pandemic, some of it having to do with vaccination, illnesses, all the other things that go along with it, followed very closely by the material cost. This is for the state of Missouri, just Missouri. Again, really in alignment with what we talked about earlier. When do you think your volume's going to be back? What do you think is going to happen? Pretty positive in Missouri. 47% business was already looking good. 30% more than 6 months or never. So overall, pretty positive look there for Missouri contractors as far as what the volume looks like for this year. Same information. I'll be glad to send these slides to Jason and John, and you can certainly have these and distribute them as you guys see fit. You can read, you can see what's going on here. Private office building sucks. Public building sucks. Retail in the tank. Lodging in the tank. Water sewer up. We've got a vote in April. We've got an MSD issue on the ballot in April for a rate increase to continue their consent decree work. The work is going to continue one way or the other. It's just a case of how they're going to pay for it with bonding or with pay as you go. So that's coming up in April. So obviously the water and sewer is high. Change in availability of hourly craft or salaried personnel. Not a lot of change. Some people think it's, you can see half the people, 26 and 24%. It's either going to continue to be hard or will become harder. I met with a contractor yesterday who's looking for project managers and white collar personnel in his office, looking to hire and looking to grow. And I think only 2% of people think it's going to be easy to hire. I'm not sure who those 2% are, but obviously it's a little bit off the radar screen there. Must be somebody who pays really, really, really well. I'm not sure who that is. But you can see hiring continues to be an issue for the folks in Missouri. We talked a little bit about transportation funding. Probably the biggest bill that we've been following is Senate Bill 262. It passed out of the House. I'm sorry, passed out of the Senate. This week is spring break. It'll be going to the House next week. It is a fuel tax increase of 2.5 cents a year for the next 5 years. Basically, it would bring MoDOT funding back to the same inflation adjusted amount that it was back in 1996. 1996 is the last time that a fuel tax increase was implemented in Missouri. So you're still paying the same cents per gallon today that you were paying back in 1996, 25 years ago. Your car probably gets better mileage than it did 25 years ago. And so this is something that's out of the Senate going over to the House. If it happens, it would certainly help shore up the road and bridge piece of the work. MoDOT currently has 800 vacancies statewide. Part of that reason is you can probably, and some of the new MoDOT employees, since it's been so long since they had an increase, still qualify for food stamps. So they haven't had a raise forever. They are really in a world of hurt. So we're hopeful to get that bill through the House and get it signed by the governor this year. so that we can be in a position. We never know what the federal government's going to do in terms of matching dollars for those projects. And even though there are probably very few road contractors, if any, on this call, I think we all know what sort of an impact that has on development overall in the state and being able to bring businesses to the state. So stay tuned on Senate Bill 262 as it goes through the House. This sort of gives you the St. Louis picture. The title of this was The Outlook in St. Louis. This is a one-year snapshot of the change in employment. St. Louis is in red. The U.S. is in black. You can see that we track pretty much, but you look at mining, logging, and construction, the second column over there, nationally it was a 3.5% drop, and St. Louis was less than a 1% drop. So very little change. We fared better than the rest of the country in terms of change in construction employment. Very consistent with where we were a year ago. And I think our work hours that we track and some of the other data we have shows that that's pretty consistent. You can see obviously in almost every other area, manufacturing, information technology, leisure and hospitality, all of those are pretty consistent with the rest of the country. That's the biggest variable, is in construction employment. Again, same thing. Look at the change in employment. Change in construction employment was only 100 people in a year's time. This is actual jobs. Obviously, big drop in leisure and hospitality. I think non-farm includes some of the retail and other less skilled occupations. Huge drop there. But quite frankly, we fared relatively well in our industry. St. Louis did, compared to the rest of the country. Projects, you guys on this call and gals have a much better idea of the projects that are in the pipeline than I do. You know, we've got these projects going, the 270 bridges are going, NGA's going, the soccer stadium's going, albeit slowed down a little bit because of the delay in the starting of the soccer stadium. BJC is still moving ahead with their program. I think Merchants Bridge is probably getting close to being done. There are a number of other projects that are still going through the pipeline. You know, I think our horizon looks good. Just a case of, like I said, how much of the virtual backlog is virtual and how much is real. Your guess is as good as mine on that. This gives you an idea of what we see in terms of actual trade hours. AGC receives information from carpenters, the laborers, the operating engineers, the iron workers, the cement masons, and the teamsters. We get that money from the benefits, or get those numbers from the benefits programs about the actual number of hours put in place during a particular month. This is a floating 12-month average. That sort of gives you an idea of what has gone on in the St. Louis marketplace over the last 25 years, since 96, or over the last 15 years, since 96 till now. But you can see where we've gone in 08, the drop, the little bubbles we've had. This sort of puts in perspective where we are right now. When you look at those 5 basic trades, you're looking at a aggregate of about 12 million commercial workouts. Again, this does not include residential, but this gives you an idea of where our overall market is. You can see the pandemic bump there as we dropped off in the last year. We all know what happened back in '08 when we went down the black slope there. But this is a pretty good snapshot of where we are today and what the St. Louis marketplace looks like. We are all working on recruiting. Obviously, I think all the crafts, all the people that I know of, workforce continues to be a #1 issue, as you saw on those earlier slides. Most people think it's going to continue to be hard or get harder to hire people. AGC of Missouri has worked to put this website up, this missouri.byf.org. It's totally nonpartisan. It's informational to provide information about all of the different careers in construction, all the different crafts, what each craft does. A lot of these young people don't know the difference between a sheet metal worker and an iron worker, or a cement mason or a brick mason. So this website gives an overview with some short video clips of what all those folks do, what the potential earnings are. It has a list of all the different intake portals across the state. We are starting to work with veterans groups. Seems like veterans and ex-offenders now is a new market that we're looking at to try to help folks come into the workforce. We've been doing some veterans programs to try to, and any of the people we get out of the veterans programs are hired almost immediately. So whenever I get a call from somebody like, hey, I got a son, I got a cousin, I got a niece, I got a nephew that wants to get into construction, they want to know about how to get in, I just refer them to this website. It answers a ton of questions. And let's face it, the kids are more comfortable on a phone or on an iPad than talking to an old man like me. So this gives them something to, some place to go and listen to some loud music and learn about how to get into construction. So that's probably better than anything I can give them. My predictions. We will see what happens with material prices. Concrete's gone up $7 a yard. Lumber's up like crazy. Average residential house, I've heard numbers anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 being added on to home price because of lumber prices. I've heard insulation is almost impossible to get. I've heard about these big lead times on steel. I'm sure that fuel prices are not going to be going down, which is going to impact a lot of things there. At the same time, there is this pent-up demand for all these projects that have been delayed. So I really think, as far as an estimators group, I think there's going to be a lot of recycled projects, shall we say. I would anticipate that you're going to have things hit your desk that you looked at 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 14 months ago that you thought were already done and approved, and they're going to say, hey, we need to take another look at this because of what's happened, whether it's going to be redesigning projects, whether it's going to be modularization. You know, there certainly, I was out at the contractor's office out in St. Charles, you know, that's building hospital bathrooms as a unit and dropping them in. You're all seeing that. You're all seeing more modularization. And as these projects get delayed, the market has continued to change. And I really think that there's going to be a big second wave of, like I said, recycled projects that's going to come through. We don't know what the infrastructure package is going to look like from the feds, depending on what gets rolled into that. Certainly could have an impact. This latest thing that that they just passed, this $1.9 trillion deal, Metro got 200. The state transportation, public transportation people got $238 million out of that. So they're talking about maybe looking at this North County extension again on Metro. Where the federal dollars flow is going to be a good question. If we get the state transportation bill passed, that will certainly help shore up MoDOT and some other transportation projects. MSD is going to continue to go. BJC, WashU, those folks are acting like they're going to keep going and going and going. You know, so much of what they do is based on how their endowments are performing. And when you've got $1 billion endowment in the market that's going up 16, 17, 18% a year, that's a lot of cash to spin off into projects. So I think we can anticipate that we're going to continue to benefit from that. Who knows what our new mayor is going to do? I hope the first thing they do is take the concrete barricades up that are downtown. That's certainly hurting. I don't know when the hospitality industry is going to come back. I think as long as we have 60 Minutes running dagger pieces on St. Louis and we've got concrete barricades on our major thoroughfares downtown, it's going to be tough to sell hospitality. I can hardly wait to see the traffic jam on opening day for the Cardinals when 40,000 people are trying to get through one lane of traffic. I hope something happens before then. But 2020 predictions, overall good. I think we're mildly bullish, I would say. Again, the only damper is what might happen, where material prices are going to go. I do a weekly podcast that is open to God and the public. If you go in the iTunes store or Apple Music or Google or iHeartRadio or any of them, you can find iPodcast AGCMO. I do this every week, so if you want to stay tuned and find out, I will have a number of different people on there, whether it's economic, whether it's legislative, whether it's workforce, whatever. This is my little infomercial for it's 15 minutes a week. Can give you a quick snapshot of what's going on at AGC and what's going on in our world. So with that, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for getting up early on a Friday morning. I think it's great to have this opportunity. I can stop my sharing. I can go back to the screen, and I'll be more than happy to turn it back over to John and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Len. A great opportunity there to learn more about what's going on in other sectors in the industry than the building commercial, which most of our estimators are in. I'd like to know who that 2% is saying it's going to be easy to hire, because they must be paying a lot of money.
They must be working at your company, John.
Yeah, wrong side. Does anybody have any questions of Len on his topics?
if you find any estimators or project managers, I could use a couple. They're hard to find.
For what?
Yeah.
What
For a
position?
sheet metal estimator and piping estimators.
Right.
Yeah, Fred, I think what you're saying is pretty much consistent across the board. I mean, I continue to get calls every day. You know, if you've got somebody that can fog a mirror and know what a construction job looks like, I think I can find a spot for them.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
There's also the chat box over there, but most people are muted. So
Yeah. Why don't you unmute them if they want to? Can they unmute themselves like me?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll mute myself again too. Scott, quit laughing.
I see a Washington U School of Medicine is spending on the research building. I see a comment that the 60 Minutes article was hurtful. Yeah, I talked to someone earlier this week who is head of an international association, and she convinced them to have their international convention here in St. Louis about 3 weeks ago before that 60 Minutes piece got on. Now she's trying to undo the damage of that thing. So, you know, but we've got to see what's going to happen overall in the marketplace. I mean, I think we still do have areas that are going strong. Manufacturing is still going good. Transportation is still going good. I think the whole logistics market, I think that's why we're hopeful of getting the fuel tax increase passed through the legislature, is that we can build on that logistics piece of our region. You can move an airport, you can move a road, but you can't move the Mississippi River. And that is still going to be there. And there's still a lot of goods that come up and down that river that we can continue to capitalize on.
Anybody else have any questions by chance?
Hey, Len, you have any kind of take on greater STL and the impact that it's going to have on what we're trying to do? And I'm kind of speaking regionally, being one of the few Illinois guys on here. I'll speak for Cameron, but I've listened to Jason, yeah, and John, yeah. I've listened to Jason talk several times, and while he talks regionally, it seems like everything he talks about stops at the river. But any take? I know you've sat in on several of his presentations as well. Didn't know what your feeling was about the new greater STL.
Well, Steve, I think that it's probably something that's overdue. It's probably about 5 or 6 years too late, but I'm glad it happened. Yes, it's an extremely positive move. I think that they're probably 90% of the way there. I think the last piece of that might be to bring Kathy Osborne's group into that group. Greater STL certainly is a good aggregation, but bringing the Regional Business Council in would certainly be the last piece of that puzzle. There's no doubt we don't need 6 or 8 economic development organizations. The state, the Missouri Partnership, and the Hawthorne Foundation are 2 more groups that are working to bring more work. They're more statewide focused, but greater STL is a great step forward. It really is. That was so personality driven and not driven by what was best for the region. I think that continues to be a regional frustration when we look at our mayor, our county executive, and our surrounding county executives, and trying to get all those people together and on the same page, plus the Madison County folks. You know, you've had great leadership over on I think, quite frankly, some of the folks on the Illinois side have been much more pro-business than what we've seen on the Missouri side. So It's great that they're together. Still, it's a positive step for sure.
Good. You hearing anything new on the 39 North development? I mean, I haven't, it just seems like, you know, since the whole Stanger and Sheila Sweeney thing, it just seems like 39 North has gone quiet.
I have not, it has gone quiet. Haven't heard a word.
Okay.
Haven't heard anything. I
Well,
do,
that's what you were talking about as far as infrastructure. I recently took a couple trips to Florida, and you wouldn't believe the work that's in Nashville, Florida. They're booming compared to us. And what's being done as far as developing St. Louis as a river port?
not a lot, not a lot. I think, again, that's a real funding issue as much as anything. The Corps of Engineers has really been spending more on flood control and flood mitigation. You know, the locks and dams are basically on Social Security. They're 65 years old. There's certainly work that needs to be done there. I see something in the chat box about, seems like road work was booming while everyone was working from home. That is true. That was a good opportunity, I think, to get work done when you could work during the daytime instead of having to work at night. Night work on the road work, a lot of times MoDOT likes to do work at night because it doesn't cause as many traffic jams during the day. Of course, it adds about 30% to the cost of the project to keep traffic moving and do all the lane drops and everything else up and down. But it was booming, and we're fortunate in St. Louis that we did get that large 270 project. That was probably half of MoDOT's budget for last year was all those 270 bridges. So we were fortunate there.
I can tell you Dennis Willemsmeyer and Mary Lamy, part of America Central Port, is doing a ton. And they are, they've got a lot of proposals in through the state of Illinois and federally to try and get this whole PanMax, you know, cargo program in place.
Yep.
So they're doing quite a bit to try and promote our area for shipping and on the river anyway, as far as getting that done. We opened an office in Nashville about 3 years ago, and we've had to have a chokehold on it because there's so many opportunities down there. It's ridiculous. I mean, we just finished a 22-story tower for Amazon, and we're just starting a 28-story tower for them right next to it. The problem is they have no infrastructure to support it. The highways are absolutely terrible. Unless you're living right next to the building you're working in, you've got an hour-long drive to get to your office every morning. And the housing market is just totally ridiculous. Trying to get people to move there and buy a house is just almost impossible.
Well, Steve, Nashville, what you talked about, the infrastructure in Nashville, they are now paying for all the TIFs and all the tax-free property that they gave away to developers to come in there. That, yes, there's a lot of building going on, and yes, there's a ton of development. A lot of that is TIF work, and the taxes aren't there, and the support isn't there to do the road work and do the infrastructure work that they need. And now they're sort of behind the 8 ball with that piece of it.
Which drives me crazy because St. Louis is designed for 3 million people. I mean, we've got the highway infrastructure, we've got the utility infrastructure to support the development and growth, but we just can't get people to move here.
I see the question from Henry about meeting current and future workforce demands. Henry, quite frankly, I don't think we're going to meet it by doing what we've been doing in the past. We're not going to get it done with career fairs and flyers. I think we have to really, really dig deep. And I think that's, quite frankly, the programs we've been running for veterans are down in Poplar Bluff. And the programs that we're doing for, for ex-offenders are all over the state, where our safety guys are going into the prison and trying to give them the 30-hour the 10-hour or the 30-hour OSHA classes so that when they get out, they're ready to go. I don't know that looking to six. I mean, we can't abandon the 16 to 18-year-olds. I get that. We've got to continue to do that. But you know, I was talking to one of our guys that said he's going to need 300 carpenters this summer. He doesn't know where he's going to get them. So, you know, I could pick up my tools again, but that productivity number would really go to shit. You know, so. But we've got to keep looking. We've got to do something different, and it's a lot of different things. I know you guys are doing different things. We've got to look under every rock because competition is tough.
Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, Len, just to piggyback on the workforce issue, I'm out on the school board out in Washington, Missouri. We've kind of created you know, the whole youth apprenticeship thing came through with the state of Missouri. We just came up with a new program, one of the first ones in the state out there, that we're going to bring our juniors and seniors in the building trades program. We're actually allowing those kids to work for our contractors between junior and senior year in the summertime, and going to the old program like we had years ago with our seniors, that if they have enough credits, be able to come out on the job site early and work those hours while they're still in high school. Department of Labor's approved that. That's pushed some more kids a little bit earlier out into the field for our contractors. We started, and I started about 8 years ago. Believe it or not, this sounds crazy, with second graders. Okay. I'm going in with a little program, build birdhouses, talking to the kids, just getting them excited. When they get to 6th grade, I have a Build Academy we created, and this is really kicking off in the state. But this Build Academy is a program from marketing all the way to these kids are building a doghouse at the end of 8 weeks. They're getting 3 credits in school for doing this: English, science, and math. And I'm taking my building trades kids as the foreman and the crew, 4 kids in a crew, and my pre-engineering students as a superintendent. And I wish I could get you guys to come out and see this program, because it is absolutely phenomenal. Pandemic hit us a little bit, but so I'm getting the excitement started early. We're hitting 6th grade. Next year, I'm going to go to a construction, geometry and construction program in high school. And I'm getting these kids to understand this. I'm asking the district to take our teachers and put them into externships, which is putting them back into like contractors' offices and architects' offices, those sorts of things, and taking real life stuff and bringing it back into the schools. So those are things that are far-fetched out there. Hopefully it's going to bear some fruit at some point.
Yeah, we're looking at Lift for Life Academy. You know, you've got to be everywhere right now, because you know, the idea that you can't cut and paste it into place, or you can't do it on your phone, is sort of unique to people. That you know, and it's a career. We've just got to continue to sell it.
So Scott, you mentioned about the training that you're talking about. What do you see as far as the work ethic of the younger generation?
Well, I will tell you, there's something has spiked. I can tell you out in Franklin County and at Four Rivers Career Center I speak to, is 3 years ago, we had less than 15 students in the building trade program. Today, we've got about almost 70. I don't know what happened there, other than I told my instructors, we're either going to lay you off because I don't have enough work for you, or you get out in the community yourself and talk to these people. And I think my guys at the school went out and did some recruitment. We're going across the state. We created our own, actually our own math curriculum through the Carpenters, and we're selling it to a lot of these high schools and putting it in the high schools. It's in over 90 high schools in the state of Missouri. And it's real life stuff. It's hands-on stuff. These kids are learning, and instead of reading out of an algebra book, they're reading out of the Career Connections book. And it's bringing real life stuff and hands-on stuff to the high schools.
And I think going to Fred's comment earlier, Scott, we've got 6 student chapters now across the state at the universities, at Missouri S&T, at Ozark Technical College, at Missouri State Tech, to try to look at those post-secondary kids, to try to talk to them. I know that one of our contractors here just hired a young lady who was the president of our student chapter in Rolla last year, and has her working for them. So we have to continue to work on those estimators and project managers at the university level also. That's a big thing we've been involved in.
Len, what happened to the construction trade high school thing that they had going?
You know that they say the 2 happiest days of your life are the day you buy the boat and the day to sell the boat. 2 happiest days of my life were the day we started the charter school and the day we shut down the charter school. Not because it was a bad idea, but when we started it, we had great support from St. Louis Public Schools. Dr. Hammonds was a great supporter of the school, gave us all the help we needed, gave us all the access into the 7th and 8th grade classrooms we needed to recruit kids. When Dr. Hammonds left and the new superintendent came in, we were a pariah. As a charter school, they didn't want anything to do with us. They wouldn't allow us into the 7th and 8th grades to recruit kids. At the time, at the peak, we were at like 450 kids there in the school. When we closed, we had less than 170 kids. And St. Louis Public killed us. AGC was spending $500,000 a year to keep the doors open. And our board looked at it and said, look, if we can't get, and state legislation, you can't put a school anywhere other than the city of St. Louis or the city of Kansas City. So we were trapped by the politics at SLPS. I toured Live for Life Academy a couple of weeks ago. They're actually almost like what Scott's talking about. They're building a little lab down there to build some birdhouses and, you know, screw around with turning a light bulb on and off and doing some stuff like that so that they can give some of those kids an idea into construction. But St. Louis Public had no interest in us, the industry, having a charter high school in their backyard to fill our industry. They were more interested. I think they may still have a construction program up at Clyde C. Miller, up on North 14th Street or 12th Street, wherever that is. But you know, you're talking 10 kids a year. That's not even close. So Bob, to answer your question, I didn't mean to be glib about it. I wish we still had the charter school. I wish we would have had the support from SLPS and been able to continue on, but they were not interested in having a charter in their backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Well, with that, I don't know if we have any more questions, but I'd like to thank Len for all of his time and his effort and that great presentation. We do have this recorded. It will be posted on our website by probably 9 a.m. Right, Jason?
Yeah, as long as it takes the process, but yeah.
Yeah. And we do have other things on there. Just want to remind people about our upcoming events. Again, our next monthly meetings on April 21st or April 16th. Yeah, I got the dates in my mind wrong. April 16th is our next meeting, and it'll be 7 a.m. again. It'll be on minority participation, and Ron Underreiner is going to be speaking at that. And then our next one will be May 21st, which should be our board induction, our scholarship awardees, and then to be estimating safety. or safety and estimating, and Fred's got that wrapped up with
All safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with that, I do appreciate everybody's efforts. If you do have any post-bid thoughts and you want to get an answer on them, please email them to me or you, Len.
Either way, I'm happy to, ltoenjes@agcmo.org, happy to answer them.
And
I
I'll
like how you switched from your office down to that beach real quick. Okay.
I'll put the slides in the email out to anybody who's the attendee, and then also a link to the video of this once it finishes processing or
Yeah,
whatever.
thanks.
So
Okay. Appreciate everybody being here this morning on Friday the 19th, and hope that if you have any other questions, please look at our website. Jason's been doing a great job with that. So I appreciate anybody's efforts to help Jason in any way of getting stuff done. He's been doing a lot for this chapter. So thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. Have a good weekend.